Ching ching. Hello everyone. How are you tonight? It's Seb here in Paris. Kind of hot, and this evening I'm coming to you from behind the lens mug. Cheers. It's that amazing mug which you cannot believe is not a lens until you put water in it and drink from it. How are you doing? Nice to see you. Well, I can't see you. Maybe I should do Zooms instead of the system that I use. What do you think? It's the photo show. There'll be a few changes. I'm just going to, my computer is plugged in. Let me do something really clever. Plug into the internet through this little thing here in case the connection is better. And there'll be a few changes I'm going to announce in the next few minutes. And apart from that, we're going to look at photographs, lots and lots of photographs. And the theme this week was, let me bring up the screen. Say hello if you're watching. The theme there in the top right is still life 3. In other words, take a still life of 3 things. And in English, it's called a still life. And in French, it's called nature morte, which means dead nature. Which do you think is least pessimistic? Still life or dead nature? My idea was 3 things together which have some sort of meaning for you, and try and do something artistic with them. I don't know where we're going to go from here. I've had a couple of ideas. I'm thinking, okay, summer is coming, but I'm thinking of doing this every 2 weeks. That sounds like you're going to have less of me. Well, maybe, but I'm also thinking of adding another show. I used to do this a few months ago. I had 2 shows a week. I think it was on a Tuesday and a Thursday. There was the photography show on the Tuesday, then a writing show, me talking about words, on the Thursday. Then the next week, it was creativity on the Tuesday. Everything to do with creativity, especially focusing on how to be as creative as you'd like to be and productive. Maybe, with a bit of sort of art, not so much on photos and words. If we're going to talk about art, it might be painting or anything else. And then on the Thursday of the second week, Paris, talking about Paris. So kind of something for everyone, covering all my interests. And also, maybe once a week for the photography theme is, I don't know if it's too much, but you can have too much of a good thing. And it's also nice to have a change. So I was itching to get back into the writing and the creativity show and the Paris show. So that's what I might do. Right, who's saying hello? Dorothy's saying hello. Hello, Dorothy. Dorothy's listening, so that means she's probably doing something else creative, or maybe just washing her clothes or something whilst I'm rambling on. Although theoretically you should be watching because it is a photography show. Hello, Facebook user. Who are you? Let me know. And we've got Facebook user Still Life. You can tell me once, Facebook user, and then so Still Life. You prefer Still Life? Well, that's what us English speakers are used to. But nature I think sounds quite nice, but then it's dead nature, nature morte. All right. So the theme was Still Life 3. I'm going to spend half the time on your photographs, half the time on other things. As a matter of interest, one of the most famous still lifes of all time is probably this one. Dorothy, you're cooking. All right. Well, I'm coming. I hope it's going to be good. And Facebook user is Nazanin. Hello, Nazanin. Are you as warm down by the Marne as I am here in the south suburbs of Paris? So this thing here, it looks like it's going to be the same size, is one of the most famous still lifes of all. Although having said still life, should a still life be something which was originally living, like fruit or flowers, or, some of those ones which are a bit more gruesome where you've got bits of slabs of meat? I think maybe that's, theoretically, that's what a still life should be. But I take it to mean any object which are basically not doing anything except being painted or being photographed. Facebook user says, why doesn't it show my name like before? I don't know, Nazanin. You could go to somewhere You can go to facebook.com/ StreamYard.com/ trying to find it. Oh dear. You go to, I think it's this. I think you go to StreamYard.com/Facebook and you just agree that it can show your name. StreamYard.com/Facebook. That might work. All right. Yeah, so this is one of the most famous, and I'm kind of into Stoicism at the moment. This comes from Stoicism, sort of thinking about the flower represents life, the skull represents death, and the hourglass represents time slipping away. So sounds a bit morbid, doesn't it? The Latin phrase that goes with that is memento mori, which means remember that we're mortal, remember we're going to die. And my recent squares, infinity squared squares, I'm just trying to, for the streets of Paris and anyone who wants them, had a Latin thing on which says amor fati, which means love fate, love your fate. So I think the next one might well be memento mori, or maybe a more positive, a more, no, I mean, it is positive, but, you know, less morbid one. It is morbid. So that, if you look at it, it's got strong lighting coming from the side. I mean, it's painted, so, you know, you've got to admire the fact that they've painted the effect of the light as well. It's pretty amazing. And you see the slight bit of, basically it's a bit of white paint probably on the edge of the tulip there. But on that dash of white paint on the edge of the skull, just at the right angle, and the tiny little bit in the bulb of the glass there, and a tiny bit on the glass of the hourglass. It's all just amazing to show where the light is coming from. And of course, you've got the shadows, including this very clever shadow of the glass, which has a pale bit in the middle. Very, very clever. And just you know, well, it's so wonderfully painted. And you can do all this without even having to know how to paint. Isn't that cool? But did you? Let's have a look. That's my stuff. I'll show you that later. Right, so I'm going to search the group. What was the thing? Still 3. Here it comes. Hashtag still 3. 2 L's. So let's see what happens. Okay. We didn't find anything. Okay, what have I done here? Still 3. Isn't that what I said? Oh, I'm in the blog thing. That's probably why. That's the group that I'm going to revamp. Let's try again. Wasn't the portraits with the text that was inspired by them wonderful last week? I've just seen this. I haven't seen this before, Dorothy, and it's beautiful. I need to take another one. I haven't taken enough. I just took a couple of example ones with the shoes and a stone and something, but I didn't really get as creative as I'd like to have. This is absolutely beautiful, Dorothy. I love it. I love the frame. I recognized how difficult it was for me to have 3 things. 2 or 4 is more normal for me. What is an interesting thing to say? I was going to say strange. This is the 3 books I have on my table today. Why on earth would 2 or 4 be more normal than 3? And 3 is my lucky number. Well, I said it was when I was a kid. I love that. I love the way that it's rich on the top book, and then it gets paler as you go down. And a nice arrangement there. That's nice, Dorothy. I'm going to like it. This is me. That's what I was telling you about me trying to give you an idea for what it could be. You see that they're all rolling down a hill there. Well, I've put in a bit of an angle. There's a nice sort of triangle effect there. You've got the nearest one is as sharp as it was after I played around with it. The middle one, the conker or the horse chestnut, is getting really fuzzy. It's getting fuzzy. And then in the distance, you've got a hint of some other sort of stone. And then this is a tighter composition, more of a pure triangle, although it's still not like the triangle base isn't straight along the bottom. It's got a bit of an angle going up from the purple to the stone, and then another one, an angle going off to the concha in the top towards the right, but it's not so far right that it's on the same vertical line as the stone. So, you know, watch out for that. If you've got three things, there's going to be a kind of an invisible line in between each of all of the two things. And if that invisible line, which goes through the center of them, is parallel with one of the edges of the photograph, that's going to have a different effect than if it isn't. And as you can see here, the line going through the center of those two is at an angle to the edges. Definitely that one, probably 45 degrees. And this one is more like 30 degrees or 20 degrees going down there. So that's important. Don't forget, the things are only at an angle in the shot in relation to the sides of the photograph. So you need to play with that. The sides of the photograph, which are normally vertical and horizontal, give you the frame, obviously, which makes everything else either parallel or horizontal to that frame or at an angle to it. So as you can see, I turned the camera so that the grain of the wood on the table is at a nice angle to the edge of the frame. That's enough about that. It's a very simple shot. You've got to play with size as well. You can see the difference between, these are all pretty much the same size, which is okay. But it could get more interesting if they diminish in size. Not only do they get smaller in size, because I'm shooting low, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to get them all in the same frame, whilst still having plenty of distance, so that the one in the background goes fuzzy. The closer you get to the front one and focus on it, the faster the background ones will get fuzzy. And there's also another difference, and that is I've put in the edge of the table in the top left there. So I'll try to stop talking about my photographs now. Right, what do you think? Tell me as you're watching on the replay. Hello on the replay, say hello. As you're watching, tell me if you have comments on any of these. So you need to say whose photograph it is and why you like it, or what you particularly appreciate, or even, you know, I wonder why she did it that way. So this is Bea. She says she's having 3 glasses with her sister and her daughter. And here it is. I've just seen this as well. Interesting. What do you think? If you've just joined, say hello. Welcome to the show, the Smartphone Photography Show. It doesn't have to be smartphones, by the way, but it often is. So I love this. It's all glass. One of them, they've all got things in. That looks like a jar in the bottom, so it's probably some sort of fancy cocktail or something that they're selling in a jar to make it different from a Coca-Cola glass, which looks like is on the left. And above it is a big glass of, don't know, something pale. The first thing I like the composition and everything. You've really filled the frame with all those glasses, maybe because there was something behind that you wanted to hide. I can see a green chair. I love the straws. And what is in the background is fuzzy. It looks like some sort of garage door with paint with a graffiti on it, but it's fuzzy, so that's fine. I really like it. Really good to get in close to make a composition strong. What most non-photographers do is not get in close. They don't realize that you even can, or that it's even a thing to get in close, and it becomes, as if by magic, an artistic photograph, rather than having, you know, everyone sitting around the tables, the cars going past, the bins, that sort of thing. One thing that comes to me is that it's quite dark. And I think what's happened is that the glasses are light, the liquid in the biggest glass is light, and the background is quite light. So what that does is it gives the camera a lot of light, and that makes the camera underexpose if you want it to be lighter. See, this has taken it down to a mid-gray. That's what the camera generally does, unless you tell it to do otherwise. So I think it's a little bit gray in terms of, because, you know, some of this stuff should be white, and it's gray. It might seem white as we look at it, But if you compare it to the edge of this panel here, for example, or even the edge of the photograph, you can see that's white. And the rest of the photo, which probably a lot of it is really bright because it's glass on a bright day, would be much brighter than that. So something to bear in mind. So you can just touch the camera, well, basically bump up the exposure, however your camera or your smartphone does that. Put up the exposure before, you can do it afterwards, but before you take the shot, if you know it's going to be underexposed, then do that. And having said all of that, maybe she wanted it to look exactly like that. Great. Any occasion, you see, 3 straws, 3 glasses, 3 different drinks, and implied 3 people having a nice drink. This is me. I hope there's more than just me and Bea and Dorothy. So this was me hijacking some shoes and trying to do something artistic with them. And this is another version. I'll show you the boring, well, I said boring, I shouldn't insult anybody's shoes here. Theoretically, yeah, there it is. So, I was sitting around somewhere looking around and I suddenly thought, what am I going to use as an example? And I thought, well, let's do this. I looked for three shoes, completely different styles. Now I could have gone color or washed out or something. I decided to go black and white for the drama. And also I wanted to focus more on the shape and the shadows of the lighting, and quite contrasty lighting that I had, as opposed to the color. I didn't want the color getting in the way, so I got rid of it. And I think the result is quite good. I don't think it matters. For example, this one in the top right is quite bright blue. I think that would have messed up the artisticness of the shot. Now it's just it's just dark tones and very dramatic. I could have made it less contrasty. I purposely made it quite contrasty because I wanted this hard-hitting, grainy, grungy. It's not particularly grungy. It's quite sharp. If you look at the Adidas thing, the stripes there, very sharp. Even the grain of the wood, it looks grungy, but it's just, that's what it is. It hasn't been grungified. You can see the frayed edges of some of maybe the suede on the sandal there. And the composition's sweet. I like it. None of the shoes, if you notice, are actually parallel to the frame. The sandal in the bottom nearly is, but it's not. You see, it's got a slight angle there. Because if that, and certainly the other two are at an angle to the side. If I hadn't done that, it would have bugged me. Even the fact that my signature in the bottom left there, it's kind of had space left for it by the angle of this shoe. If you carried it on, it goes up a bit. And that leaves a tiny little bit more space in the bottom left than in the bottom right. Can you imagine if I'd tried to squeeze in my signature in the bottom right? It would have been crushed in there, not very elegant. And now it's got plenty of room, implied, in truth, and implied by the line of this shoe going up and leaving plenty of room. So, you can incorporate anything into your artistic decisions, including where your signature is going to go. I love that. And I love the laces as well. I didn't arrange them like that. I just threw them down. And that's what happened. Same here. Look at what's happened to the laces. It's so cool. There's a repetition of this curly theme here. And I didn't do it. I swear to you, I did not do it. I threw it down and that's what it was like. Having said that, you could arrange it to look pretty as well if you like. Just a hint of this one. I wanted much more difference in size. This one is almost the same size. So to get that on a flat surface, you need to be looking down from above, really. But in this one, I wanted the opposite, just like I did with the stone and the conker and things. So you got to get in close to make it dramatic. No sort of, stuff behind, background stuff. And that means that one of them is going to be bigger than the rest. So this one is really big on the left. And I chopped them all. Did you see? Chopped them all. So you've got half the trainer sneaker, you've got half the sandal, and you've got the toe of the croc, do you call it? Or I don't know what you call it in English. So there you go. And very contrasty lighting. Look at the detail on that lace. It's wonderful. My photo's wonderful, says the person who took it. You should all be doing that, by the way. Not doing black and white, saying that your photograph is wonderful. And here's Jean. Jean on the smartphone photography course. I remember someone playing around with something like this before. It may have been you. Variation on the 3 theme. By the way, let me have some comments, please. Which ones do you particularly like and why? So variation on the 3 theme, 3 groups of 3 items that I use in dog therapy programs, cones, hoops, and beanbags. That's great. You've got 3 sets of 3. You've got 3 different colors, and you've got 3 cracks in the concrete that are visible, which is wonderful. And she says, wanted to choose primary colors. The cones are turquoise blue, so I left it out. Yeah. I like it, you know, really graphic, really cool. Now we get on to Angular. What can we say about Angular? It gets worrying, you know, how artistic she is. I'm not saying anyone else isn't, but this one, how did you, all those cherries. You know, it looks like one of those photographs where you've highlighted one thing, you've made everything black and white, and then you've brought the color back on the cherries, but I don't think so. I think this is, you know, white lace thing below, white behind, a darker thing which doesn't have any color, and you can see a hint of warmth in the bottom of the photo and the top, and then playing with light. Now, if you remember my shoe shots and the other ones, the light was coming from the side window, and that was giving quite strong shadows. She's played around with the light. I'm sure she's carefully arranged this, or at least paid attention to the light. And I like the fact that, for a start, I can't see her. Can I? You know, maybe if you looked, I thought I'd seen her, but it's the edge of the cherry stalk. I'm kind of perplexed here because I can't work. Normally, when you've got a reflective surface and you're right next to it, taking a photograph of it, you're in the shot, which may or may not be a good thing, depending on what you're trying to do. It can be, you know, if you want, you can't imagine an advertising shot where you've got the photographer reflected in the bottle of whiskey or whatever. You know, that would be ridiculous. And yet here I can't see where she is. So that's clever. What about these white things? What's that? What's going on there? Look at that little curly bit of white there. I'm intrigued, and there's a kind of repetition of it there. I'm intrigued. What is that? Some sort of light bulbs or long light things you've got on the ceiling? It's amazing that. And I like the white in the middle of it here because the rest of this band behind it is dark. So isn't it nice to have a bit of white, some strange shapes in the dark bit? This bit here is particularly curved. So when you've got a reflective curved surface, you're going to get crazy stuff. So it's wonderful if you've got something interesting to be distorted in the curved reflective surface. She's thrown in a couple of cherries, making us want to eat them. And it's a beautiful shot. I'm just wondering if I would try any other versions. It's square. The jug is right in the middle, which may be slightly unbalanced because, okay, it's in the middle. That's not unbalanced. But then you've got the cherry, which is in front. You've got another cherry slightly to the right. And I'm thinking there's a bit of space here on the left, which is possibly redundant. I'm not sure if it's adding to the shot. Similarly, there's quite a lot of space above the jug. I'm not saying you should chop much of it. I'm just wondering what your creative decision on this was, Angela. Why did you make any choice? Is that, you know, if I'd taken it, I might not have had the jug absolute center. I'd probably have had the cherries a tiny bit off to one side and the jug a tiny bit off to the other. You know, that's something I might have gone for. You probably took a few different versions of this. I would probably, and maybe you did, try changing the angle as well. Maybe slightly higher to see what that looks like. You could go slightly lower, but then that, you know, it's kind of weird. Normally your eyes are above the height of a jug. It's normally on a table. So in terms of what might disturb our brain, the height is pretty good. And just wondering why there's that slight extra bit of space on the left there that's not doing much. Interesting. So superb. Nazanin, desktop, tablet, smartphone. This is high technology. Can't do without it anymore. Oh yeah, Nazanin. I was reading a little while ago. Nazanin is saying, lovely colors, Jean. And I was reading a little while ago, what about another technique I might try? It's called the 90, no tech 90 or something like that. The idea is you don't have any tech, any screens, 90 minutes before you go to bed. So an hour and a half before you go to sleep and go to bed, no more screens. I guess that, I mean, it's mainly interactive screens. I don't think they mean the telly, but can you imagine? So yeah, this is our life, and I'm quite perturbed about it. I don't know how I feel about it. The fact that I am completely and utterly sold my soul to Facebook amongst other companies. I'm just not sure about it, because we now are living a time which our children won't live, and that is, unless your children are 40 or 50. It's the time when we started our lives, and the first part of our lives, a good chunk of it, there was no internet. There were no mobile phones. There was none of that. And that was our life. You wanted to contact someone, you could phone them, but you could write them a letter as well. And it was a pleasure to write letters, pleasure to hear that they'd got it, they liked it, and a pleasure when a letter came to you. I'm talking about a paper letter written with a pen and stuff. We had to stick a stamp on with your tongue and write the address. That's not a thing anymore for most people. And I think that's, I was going to say it's a tragedy. Well, is it? I don't know. It's the way it is, Is it a tragedy that I don't know, go to work on a horse or live in a cave? I don't know. But I guess it'll always be that way, as you get older. But, this is pretty serious. I think the internet is huge. It's like the Industrial Revolution. The internet, everything changed. And that's why we're here today, folks. Thank you for that, Nazanin. I like the fact that you've arranged it nicely, and there's nothing getting in the way apart from those screens. Don't you need to clean that screen a little bit? Look at the state of that. And you filled in that top corner with a nice bit of curtain. Thank you, Nazanin. Right, what's next? How are we doing for time? We're almost. I wanted to do half of this on my photos and half on yours. Let's see. This is beautiful, Bear. Love it. And the first thing I spotted was the color of I thought the color of your name was reflected in the little pot here, but of course it's obviously the color of the green. But you've taken the green from that, or it's the same color. It's great, which is interesting because it actually echoes what I said about my photograph with the shoes. There's the biggest space of all, which isn't doing anything, in the bottom left, is where she put her signature. By the way, if you don't put your signature on your photographs and you're aiming to be artistic and feel good about your shots, and that's a really good way to flip your mindset into thinking, yep, I'm a photographer, I'm an artistic person. Sign your photographs before you publish them. This is lovely. Now, there's two things which are quite similar in texture, I'm guessing. There's two metal things. They're sort of grey metal, I'm guessing, because the photo's probably been played with a bit. Then you've got something that is completely different, utterly different. And that could have been a bit jarring. But the way you've done it, Bear, you've placed it halfway in the pot, but it's also going out of the pot onto the bracelet. And you've got the red reflected in the bracelet. And you've got the shadow of the beads on the side of the pot inside, which is sweet. And I've just seen that. You've even got the shadow of the square. One element isn't square. And you've got the shadow of the die, not reflected, on the pot as well. So that means there's strong lighting coming from the side, and you can see that from the shadows. You've chosen a natural surface to put them on, which is nice. I think that's nice. The pot looks like it should be outside with some little plant in or something. And it looks quite rustic. So you've put it on a rustic surface. You've got a bit of color, local color or ambience in the shape of, whatever is on the other side of this slab. but it's out of focus, which is great. And it doesn't matter that it looks a bit industrial. That's fine, because it's just, you know, it's fuzzy. Otherwise, that would be a bit boring. You're not drawn to that. You're drawn immediately to the strong colors. And I love it. It's beautiful. I would have this on my wall any day. Nicely framed. Even the shadow, you've attempted to get the shadow in. Of course, you can't have everything in the shot all the time, and you wouldn't want it. So the shadow is the thing that's chopped. But the edge of the shadow, that doesn't matter. And the edge of the pot is not cropped. It's not chopped. And you've got a tiny bit in the top right. You can't see it actually because of my name thing. The thing saying photo chat. You've got a tiny bit of the thing which is behind the slab in the top left, which is fine. You know, it kind of complements the fact that you've got the edge of the slab there. So that's great. I like it. It's a beauty. Anything else? Anything else? Ah, it's funny. I looked at this when I saw this and I thought, hey, did I blow that up? Austerity. I hope I blew that up. Did I? Yeah, I did. Of course I did. When I saw this, I thought, hey, I could have done that. I've got 3 big red tomatoes in my fridge. And she's gone again, very artistic. I mean, Angela took the theme of still life to heart. And one of the things of a still life is everything is beautifully arranged. It's normally artificially arranged. It's not spontaneous. It's not street photography. It's not even kitchen top photography where you take a snap as you're walking past. It's arranged. You arrange everything from the lighting to the props. I think she's probably carefully curled the tea towel or tablecloth around the bag. The bag has probably been very carefully arranged so that you've got those 3 my mouth is watering, incredibly juicy tomatoes popping out. Even the background is red. How did you do that? Clever thing. And in terms of focus, everything seems to be in focus. You can play with focus, although in still lives, is it still lifes or still lives? Good question. Focus is pretty important in still lifes. I'll say lives, because it's clearly been set up, so everything should be as it should be. So you expect to be looking at something where everything is as the photographer meant it to be. In other words, what's in focus should be the thing that photographer. I think I'm saying the same thing 3 times. Basically, let me give you an example. If you're not careful, this tomato here, which is probably furthest from the camera, or along with this one, is maybe a little bit out of focus. This tomato is a bit closer to the camera. It still seems a little bit out of focus, actually. Whereas the edge of the bag, if you look at the ragged teeth on the edge of the bag there, seem to be absolutely sharp. Is that what she wanted? Did she want the ragged edge of the bag to be sharp, or would she have preferred the tomatoes to be sharp? Okay, tomatoes are kind of really soft and silky and velvety almost. So maybe they're sharp. It just doesn't seem like they are. But, you know, I'm looking at the detail in the bit where the stalks were and the edge of the tomato. It actually seems fuzzy, and I don't know why. Whereas the edge of the bag and the folds on the bag, they're sharp line. You don't have sharp lines on tomatoes. You do have sharp lines on a crumpled paper bag. The camera might detect those and say, aha, I see something that I can make really sharp. I'm sure the owner will be happy with me. But if it's the paper bag that gets sharp and she wanted the tomato sharp, that's something to bear in mind. Also, when you've got great detail on the tablecloth, it's a decision to make. Do you want the detail on the tablecloth to be sharp, or what? So those are tiny. They're not tiny, but you know, they're stuff that I want to tell you about. My first reaction was, wow, what a stunning shot! What a great shot! Let's move on. And we've got Dorothy dorifying her vegetable garden. 3 items when I was making lunch. So I took 3 items 3 times. And she found a 4th way to do it. And I think the 4th one was Curious Dorothy wondering how the salad would look like if she She doubled it up, and it looks like some sort of monster, which is pretty par for the course in Dorothy's photographs. She always manages to find a monster when she does that mirror reflection. And here's some other shots. There's a 3. That's nice. I like it. You're really close. This one in the top right is nice, rich colors. You've got a soft effect in there as well. This is the sort of situation where you could have the ingredients of a meal in the foreground, and in the background, fuzzy, the tools you're using to prepare them. You know, like a fuzzy spoon or a fuzzy bowl or a knife or something like that. Really nice. And this is a single photograph, which is beautiful, beautiful colors. Again, you can ask yourself what you want to be in focus. The closer you get to the shot, the shallower the depth of field. In other words, you might have a leaf in the middle might be sharp, the things near the camera might be fuzzy, and the things in the background might be fuzzy. That's what you've got to be careful with. And the thing is, the thing that is most prominent or most clearly the subject, theoretically, that should be the thing that's sharp. Great. I think this is Nazanin again. I miss the red elephant. I miss the red English telephone booths. Why are you saying that, Nazanin? You've got one near you on the Marne, haven't you? I'm not sure what you're referring to there. I'm going to the UK in a week, so I will have red telephone booths galore, although they don't actually function anymore. They're things like defibrillators and things like that. Here's Jean. Do I dare take the time? Warm, soothing bath water, aromatic mineral salts, candle flickering, soft piano music. Ooh la la, Jean. Smooth red wine. Do I dare take the time? That's great. Getting nice and poetic there. Maybe you were influenced by last week's theme where we had words and images combined. Sounds like a lovely bath time in any case. Treating yourself. And I like the soft effect here. Very soft colors. Unusual colors. Nothing jarring. And the soap and the, what do you call that thing? It's not a squeegee. I don't know what you call it. Seems to be the subject here. We don't get a no, I don't want to see a picture of you in the bath, but you know, I suppose you could have had a foot or something, couldn't you, on the edge of the bath to give a bit of human interest. But we're talking still life here, and or nature morte, dead nature. So we don't want any dead people's feet there, which is probably why you left it out. And this was one of the first ones, 3 the same in different shapes, not perfect, not clean. My choices brought up a lot of stuff, mind-blowing judgments and a lot of stuff. Now when the judgments pass and I can see them as my past, I am looking forward for the taste and thank them for the race. Dorothy, you're writing poetry in English. Oh, bravo, bravo. Excellent. Isn't it amazing? Turning things black and white just makes it incredibly artistic. You've got some great shadows there. It's a funny shadow because the shadow doesn't actually block out the pattern on the tablecloth at all, which makes it quite interesting. It almost looks like it's another fruit or something. And I like your arrangement, you know, really close on the left, middle on the right, and then, you know, filling in the gap in the background. Love that. And this is the original. Really prefer the black and white one. It's very dramatic, isn't it? You've chosen a very harsh, very contrasty shot there. So it makes it very dramatic. You could try something, you know, a little bit less as well, but it's very, very striking shot there, Dorothy. And well done for the writing as well. This is Jean. Did you see that bird? It wasn't a typical nuthatch, but a red-breasted nuthatch. Did you get a shot of it? So this is a Twitcher's. A Twitcher's, not a triptych, but still life with the equipment you need. The book, the binoculars, and the camera. Nice. And this is Beatrice, one of her first attempts when she should have been working. I'm joking. something happening between the staple remover and the pencil and the pen. I think her colleagues at work were saying, "What's she doing?" when she was setting this up. I like it because it's not, I don't know what composition I would have expected, but it's not the one I expected, which is good. I don't know what I would have done, so great. I love the fact that it's so sharp. She probably tapped the screen on the bottom right to get the thing nearest the camera, which is biggest, really nice and sharp. And then it fuzzies out as it goes into the distance. Great. Playing with what she's got. Blue, red, and yellow. Dorothy. Playing with black and white and color. Even I'm actually tempted to go with the color one here because the colors are so lovely, and the black and white one, it doesn't seem as bright. It seems to be dulled down. You could make it brighter. You could make it as bright as the colored one, which would be nice to see, but simply because the one on the left has got lovely colors, and I like the green of the brush. Green goes very nicely. It's a soft limey green, goes very nicely with the brown, the rich browns, and it's a brighter photograph. So I go for the one on the left personally. 3 things waiting to be used. And there we are. I think we've got to the end. Wonderful. Thank you, everybody, for that. I'm going to look at my photographs now. I don't have a theme for next week, or I might make it 2 weeks if I decide to do it every 2 weeks. But then I'll have a theme in the writing thing as well for anyone who wants to get into writing. So let me move over to my shots. This is a completed chapter in the Paris Photo Chronicles, just been completed. By the way, has anyone heard of Threads? Twitter's been, I was never into Twitter, not really my thing, although I had various accounts. I never used them. I never was interested. I just couldn't see the point. I was more of a Facebook guy. And only recently I started using Instagram seriously. And so, Twitter wasn't really a thing for me. More of a sort of newsy thing. But then, I think there were loads of bots, artificial accounts and stuff. So just didn't do anything for me. But I've just recently seen that Threads has arrived, and it's a Facebook thing. It's linked to Instagram, and it's kind of a competition for Twitter, but hopefully with less of the rubbish, less of the bad accounts and stuff. You have to be a verified Instagram account, and it's in my universe. I guess I've sold my soul to Facebook. Now I'm using Instagram a lot. So, I've opened up an account. You can have an account attached to each Instagram account. I don't know if I'll use it, but I've opened one up. So Threads, if you've got an Instagram account and you're in the States or Britain or something, open up a Threads account and you can waste even more of your time. So this is my July 1st to July 9th chapter. Today's July 9th. There it is. It's finished. It's complete. And I got off the themes. I've been doing themes recently. I've got another theme coming up, actually. But this one is not themes. It's just mixture of stuff. Mixture of Paris things. And as I'm going through this quickly, I'll just say one thing about each photograph. Let me know which ones you like and why, or even if there's one that you're not so keen on. This was me hearing that a building had exploded in Paris, and I went along the next day to try and get a photograph. I couldn't get close, but I got this. So this is actually, it's all smartphone stuff, and I've got an old smartphone now. This is a Model 8. So it's totally out of date now. And I'm still chugging along with it. I'm hoping Father Christmas will give me a new one. And so this was zoomed in a lot. So the quality isn't amazing. But it's not just about the quality. It's about the thing. So this building exploded, which isn't funny. People died. And it's something about a gas leak. So I wanted to get this. I'm interested when different things happen in my neighborhood, which, you look out for them. I'm not a voyeur or anything. It was the day after, everything had calmed down. Everyone's been taken out. But the building still looked like this. And it was a historic building as well. And it housed the American Institute of Fashion or something. So there were all sorts of stories around it, and it was on a very historic street in Paris. So I went, I got the shot, and there it is for posterity. The centerpiece is this one. It doesn't seem to be Paris, but it was taken on a train going into Paris. And I've taken a shot like this before, but I thought it was a good centerpiece for the set of 9. Bright yellow. It's actually been played around with. If you can see, there's actually 3 different photographs. If you look, this is a thing that people put on the seats asking for money. And it's got their story saying, I don't have anywhere to live. I've got 2 children. I don't work. Help me. God, may God protect you and your family. Have a good day. I accept €1, €2, or restaurant tickets, lunch vouchers. Thank you very much. I've seen them a million times. There's a lot of these, and I don't know if there's a factory that produces these cards, but they seem pretty standard. I'm not saying it's, I'm not laughing at anyone. It's the way it is. It's part of Paris life. So I thought, okay, if you look at this, there's 3 of the same shot. So they might be different shots. You can see there's a hand there in the top left. Behind this bright yellow card, you can see, again, there's the card. And in the bottom right, you can see my hand, not my hand, the hand of the person with the card again. So I've played around with 3 different photographs to make it more interesting. So that sort of sits as a nice sort of anchoring, solid center to the series. In the bottom left, I realized I had a few different shots of buildings. So I tried to sort of balance them out. One in the bottom left here. This is actually Paris curiosity. And what's curious about it? Well, it isn't the fountain. I did find a bright blue fountain in this style recently. That was a curiosity. The curiosity here is behind everybody. It's these stairs here. And they lead up to a higher level. This is a road up here. You can see above. That's the road. There's a road up in the air. Or maybe this one is down under the ground. And the story is, the secret is that this was at a time when Paris was surrounded by walls. And these steps led up to the top of the wall, which surrounded Paris at the time. And then the walls got demolished, but the geography and the lay of the land stayed the same. So you've got odd parts of Paris where there are things like this. At the end of what seems like it's going to be a dead-end street, it's actually a flight of stairs going very steeply up to a new road, which was then, you were then outside Paris. You were in the old days. I got people coming down the steps to show that they're steps. Otherwise, it's not very clear. A couple of passers-by passing by, a couple of posts in the bottom right and left. The Wallace fountain to fill in that space there. I'm not saying I arranged everything, but I tried. There's a lot of 2s here, a lot of pairs. You've got the 2, you've got a couple, you've got another couple, that's 2 couples. You've got the 2 flights of stairs. You've got the 2 windows up at the top there. You've got the 2 posts at the bottom, including, it might not seem much, but those 2 posts kind of ground the shot and particularly fill in this bottom left where nothing is happening at all. You've got the 2 pots. There might be more, but it looks like 2. The only thing, yeah, and you have 2 lamps, you see, 2 lamps. And I guess you could say 2 ladies on the fountain, although there are actually 4. So maybe I'm inventing it, or trying desperately to make you think it's more artistic than it really is. But you've got to admit there's quite a lot of repetition of 2s. So there you go. And in the top right, it's a bird flying. And this was a quiz. This quiz, I did a quiz for my English people saying, is the bird, which is the right answer? The bird is flying near the post. The bird is flying over the Eiffel Tower, or the Eiffel Tower is flying over the bird, or something like that. And it's a funny shot because it kind of looks like the bird is a huge bird and it's going to land on the Eiffel Tower or pluck it up and fly away with it or something. So that's pretty fun. And obviously to get it, you don't just get a shot like that. You wait and you wait and you wait. And as well as waiting, you have to imagine. You have to imagine the shot in your mind before it's arrived. And then you have to be ready when it does arrive. So I imagined the bird was, you know, I'll let you in on a secret here. The bird was sitting on top of the thing here, the ball. So I thought, wouldn't it be cool if the bird flew off towards the Eiffel Tower? And I waited, and it did. I don't know what, it's disturbed a load of white stuff here. I don't know what that is. Could it be feathers, or I don't know what that is. It's kind of interesting. Nice clouds. The bird's in the middle of the clouds. I mean, in the middle of the blue, which is good, I guess. And it looks like it's about to land on the Eiffel Tower. There's one where it looks like it's landing on the Eiffel Tower, but I went with this one because the wings look great, the outspread wings. There's a funky angle, and it's cool. So very quickly, we're getting to the end here. Just a few more shots. This one, to be honest, buildings can be a bit boring. Even stunning buildings. This is a real lovely old medieval building, more or less. How can you make that interesting? Normally, I have a human to make photographs look interesting. Well, there wasn't a human leaning out of a window or, you know, falling from the sky. The thing you see in the bottom right here is it's the top of the ground floor. Like there's a floor below that. So I'm looking up at that. So, you know, I couldn't get any passers-by. Well, it's a Paris curiosity. It's an old house. So I'm going to talk about that. So I wasn't too worried about that. I tried to make it artistic with like the angles, fitting this metal thing in the bottom right, and having the wooden frame snaking away towards the sky. And of course, a bit of sky. You sometimes have to make quite an effort to get not only things as low as you can, because that's an interesting detail there. The whole beam is an interesting detail at the bottom, but to get that plus the top of the building with the sky on quite a tall building, you got to do some neck breaking stuff or get down on your knees or whatever it takes. So yeah, on the right here, I was looking at photographs somewhere, maybe on some other Paris site, and I suddenly saw this passageway. This is my photograph. When I saw it, I thought, where is that? I have to have that photograph. I don't like it when other people have got really cool photographs of Paris that I haven't got for my collection. So I tried to find where it was. I finally did, went there, and it was closed. The passageway was closed. Great. So this is where I might read you my text that goes with this, just for fun. This photo exists because seeing someone else's version left me feeling unbearably incomplete. That particular gap's been filled. Here's to the next one. Our ridiculously pretty hidden passageway in the third here is tricky. When you arrive, the anonymous doorway seems to be locked. Actually, not quite anonymous. The name is written above, the name of the passage, but the door doesn't budge an inch when I push it. That's when the infinitely higher intelligence of your local walking companion, if you're lucky enough to have one, comes into play. Seeing my pitiful despair before the closed barrier, she cocks a slightly condescending eyebrow and stabs a button on the digicode panel. This releases the door with a click. No, this releases the lock with a click, and in we go. As we're about to leave after getting our shots, we hear a couple of tourists outside the passageway, outside this door, lamenting the fact that the door's locked. I open it wide and let them in, accepting their profuse thanks with a magnanimous air. I love helping those less fortunate than myself. So this is a really cute passageway. It's not quite as pretty as in my picture. But that's what photographs are for, isn't it? To do something with reality that pleases you, to do something artistic with reality. So, you know, no, it's not quite as cutesy, not quite as bright colors as in my photograph. And that's because my photographs move away from reality to more the sort of fantasy I have in my head. And that's the way I want it to be. So that was cool. And this is me, self-portrait. I think, did I write a poem or something? I was sitting on a train. Oh, this was me. This was on the theme for the portraits, which inspired words. And that inspired these words here. I was thinking on the train, thinking, oh God, I haven't done a proper portrait, and then words inspired by it. So I did this. I think you might have seen that. So it's there for posterity. You can stop the video and read it if you want. Now, we're almost finished here. This one is a beautiful example of Paris gunge, creative disintegration. Now, hang on, what do we say here? The chat isn't synchronized. Oh, I'm sorry about that. The right, you know, it might be because there's people on my Facebook profile, and there's also people maybe watching on in the creative photography group. The right middle, because of the colors. Okay, you like the right middle because of the colors. That's the one I was talking about. The brown in the middle, as it is an original wall and interesting photo angle. The brown in the middle. Okay, this one here, I guess you're saying. Yeah. Great, thanks, Nazanin, I think it is. And Nazanin saying creative disintegration is my term for my series of self-portraits, which I take throughout my life. Creative disintegration. And I think it was Nazanin who said to me, the French version is something like _ഘ de la vieillesse, a hymn to aging, or something like that, which is cute, but it's a little bit sort of sugar-coated. I think creative disintegration is juicier, harder hitting. Okay, there it is. I think it was Nazanin who said that. And this one was a gorgeous piece of grunge. You don't have to put a grunge effect on it. It's already got one. I had a version of this where it was just this grungy thing, but I decided to put it next to the cleaner, more modern pipes, just to show you the contrast. Even they are not perfect, but next to this thing with the most amazing pattern of rust and peeling paint, it's amazing. And I think this is not used anymore. I think it genuinely is an old thing, which they've left. I'm having guesses with myself that you stick something in this square socket and turn it. That made this pole turn, which has been broken off, which then maybe moved a lamp so that you could light it, an old gas lamp or something. I don't know. That's part of the beauty of these things. I have no idea. And then finally, almost finally, is this one. Walking down a metro staircase, I see this pipe. I like pipes, and I just thought it was just bizarre. It's weird, you know, this huge pipe in this kind of right angle shape coming out of one wall, going down, turning right, and going into another wall. It's just weird. And you've got this lovely these white tiles with this red pipe with brackets on it, and then you've got the human, who some of you might recognize, going down the steps to give it a bit of humanity. Yeah, watch out for those sort of random geometric compositions that you might find in nature, or in urban situations. They can be quite interesting. So that's that for that. That was that chapter. This is the next chapter, as I've got a minute, and there's only 2 so far, and I'm dedicating this chapter to signs on the wall. Not any signs, rare signs. So I'll just show you this one. So it's not going to be, you know, an artistic heaven trip. It's really I'm trying to be artistic, but it's still mainly the plaques on the wall. MACL is a very rare Paris plaque. I've tried to balance it and put it in its environment, you know, not just the plaque. You can see those on the internet. I want a bit of Paris flavor. You've got the 61, you've got a bit of that. I won't tell you what it is, but I have published the text that goes with it, so that tells you. And down in the bottom right, another very rare plaque, Maison Salubre, tout à l'égout, in a very poor condition, which is a shame because this is a relic. It's a historic relic, and some person has graffitied over it. At least you can still see through it. They'll probably clean it at some point, but they really shouldn't have done that. Having said that, this street in Paris is one of the most decorated streets in Paris. So it had the misfortune to be there, and it kind of gives it a bit of flavor, I guess. It's not completely ruined. That would be terrible. There's about 5 or 6 of these plaques around. I'll tell you what it means. It says Maison Salubre tout à l'égout. This was at a time when, you know, plumbing, there was a lot of disease like cholera and stuff, very deadly, and it was important, or it would be really nice if they could get rid of all the sort of used water and stuff like that, you can imagine, out of the house as easily as possible. This says it's a healthy house, and it has a system called tout à l'égout, which means everything down the drain. In other words, they invented drains, and this house is attached to them. Drains that go down the middle of the road. You've got a drain in your house. Of course, these days you don't put everything down the drain, but yeah, basically, you know, you had a thing in your house, a hole in your house where you shoved all your dirty water and probably your other stuff dirty, and it went into the drain under the road and was taken away. Marvelous, marvelous innovation. This was one of the main things which helped make the city healthier and healthier. So that is 1 hour. Thanks for watching. And what can I tell you? I can tell you that, I should have, I wanted to highlight the winners from last week. I'm not sure if I can find them. Let me see if I can. I'm highlighting what I'm calling winners. They're not really winners as such, but they are shots that I really love. And I think I should be able to find them if I do #winner. So these are shots that I like, and I give, I try to vary them each time. And, you know, just for the heck of it, give 2 or 3 reasons why I like them. So the self-portraits were wonderful. Okay, here we go. So I think the hashtag was winner. Let's see, was either winner or winners. And I find 3 reasons why I like them, and I hope that those will help you. So this was Jean, and beautiful shot. And I'm saying that when you see someone from behind, you feel like you can look over their shoulder and almost see the same things the way they're experiencing it, which is nice. Composition's lovely. The black and white is very powerful. I prefer this to the colored one. Although if I met you in person, Jean, I'd probably want to see the colored version. You didn't think I'd miss the fact that she's pondering a pond. She's pondering a pond. It's a pond ponder. This one. Hang on. Here we go. This is Rob pondering air vent chills, which was nice. It's a very pure shot. He's supposed to be pondering something, so he put himself in a pondering position, and he's looking up, wondering why the air vents are making such a lot of noise or something. It's a nice shot, Rob. I like it. Thanks for playing. And then this one, I'm just sticking to last week's theme. This one was by Angela. Very atmospheric. My goodness, looks like it's from some old movie or something. If it were a movie, I imagine sort of the crackling on the film and stuff. And she's looking out of a rainy pane into the depths of her thoughts and imagination. So superb, wonderful. I keep using the word superb with Angela's shots. Probably not a coincidence. So that's it, everyone. My plan then is possibly to have a theme every 2 weeks and a live show every 2 weeks, but add another live show on another topic. So my plan is not from next week, probably the week after or something. Possibly Tuesday, the photo show, just like this one. Thursday, talking about words, a words show in the creative blog group, blog and creative writing group, as I used to do in the past. The next Tuesday, creativity itself, talking about how to be as creative as possible, featuring other types of creations like painting or sewing, it doesn't matter. And also diving more into the creative process. And on the following Thursday, Paris, all about Paris, one of my other passions. So that's my idea. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. Thanks for watching on the replay. I appreciate it. I appreciate you. I appreciate you playing and making this a thing. You know, without you, well, I'd be talking to myself. So thank you very much, and happy creating, and let's continue the adventure. I'll see what happens about a theme. If you have any ideas, you can let me know. Otherwise, I will obviously come up with one. I'm going on holiday in a week, so I may or may not be around. We'll see how it goes. I can do shows from my parents in the Lake District, probably, but I might be halfway up a mountain. So we'll see how it goes. Bye for now. It's hot. It's hot here.